So hello everybody again. Today a video about a few fixes that I think Sony should make in the next firmware. So in a way this is a special video because I'm really hoping that either somebody from Sony or an artisan or something is willing to tell about these issues to their contacts, because the aim of today is to suggest several firmware fixes which are easy, and I think the last part is important. I think there's probably a lot of people who can advise them what to do next, right? And some of them are quite complex and difficult to implement, but others are clearly quite simple and would help quite a lot in my opinion. I've been using the A6500 for a few weeks now, and these are the things that bother me, and as a software and hardware developer, especially software, I kind of can guess what is easy to fix and what is difficult to fix. Of course I can be wrong, because I know that sometimes something that looks easy, there are technical reasons why they are difficult, but I'm hoping that by fixing these in firmware, which I'm pretty sure is coming, it will improve some of the functionalities of the camera for me, and I'm guessing for others. So the first one I'm going to talk about, that's actually why the A6500 is now turned off, because I needed to have a battery warning to be able to show you what I'm talking about. So the first one is actually about the GPS function. I kind of like the GPS function. I think it's fine. It is linked to your phone, which is not a problem. I think it's actually an advantage, because everybody has their phone with them anyway, and it has a lot of advantages versus let's say a real GPS, both in body design of the A6500, but more important, the services that Google and Apple are using are not just using GPS, but they are also using other location information. So they are using the Wi-Fi points in the neighborhood, and they're using telephone masts in the neighborhood. So the point fixing is much more precise and also works internally, so inside buildings, and works much faster in acquiring the point. So I have no problems with that whatsoever. What I do have a problem with is that it is not clear when it doesn't have a connection. So let me show you what I mean. So, and this is on several levels. So let me turn on the A6500. I made the screen quite dark so that we can see what's happening on the screen. Now the thing that you're seeing is a battery warning, and I put it there on purpose, so if the camera goes off then we are kind of in trouble. But the thing that you see now is that you, next to the battery warning, you see this small symbol that now tells me I don't have a GPS lock, right? So it's a small symbol over there. There it is. It looks like a Google, it looks like a Google map sort of thing, but it's not orange. And even worse, depending on which display mode you are, it's not even shown at all. So if I go to another mode, right, so like this, for example, I like to have it on this mode. Now, I do see the battery warning. I have no idea that my GPS is not working. The same within the eye cup, right? So if this is your normal mode, that you don't want to have all your displays on, you do want to see the warnings. Now that works for the card warning, that works for the battery warning. It does not work for the GPS not having a connection. So let me just prove my point. So let's go to this one again. You can see that it now doesn't have a connection, and that's fine. I mean, what seems to happen is sometimes you have to open up your phone to not even launch the app, but somehow signal, hey, you have you need to have a connection again, and you need to start either your mobile app or the Sony Memories app or whatever, right? So let me start it up. It sometimes seems to connect all by himself, and sometimes it doesn't. And maybe they can improve that, but to be fair, I don't have a huge problem with this functionality not working, although now it might not be working at all, which is kind of disproving my point. So let's hope that it will find it. Anyway, I'm not going to do this again, so I was hoping that it would find my camera again. Somehow it's not, maybe because my Bluetooth is off or whatever, I'm not sure. And now probably also ran out of battery. Yeah, there it is. Now it has it locked, right? Sorry that this took a while. And now my battery is exhausted. So let's stop this because I think I made my point. The thing that is important, I think Sony should implement that the GPS warning is really a warning. Because it's working so well, to be fair, that most of the time it actually, you don't have to do anything on your phone, you don't have to do anything on the camera, it just works. So I think that's great. If it doesn't work, most of the time you just go in the beginning of the day, you go to your iPhone, you start up the Sony memory app again, and it seems to be acting fine in the background. And I think that's the point, right? And the fact that it's almost always working works against it if it is not working, especially if you don't see it in the display and you don't see it in the cup viewer. So the only thing that they have to do, and I think that's quite easy, is turn the thing, at least turn the warning orange, right, like the card warning is and the battery warning is, and keep it on the screen in all of the different modes like you do on all the other types of warnings. So that's the first fix that I would suggest. So here we are again, and the second thing that I think Sony should change in the next firmware, which I think again is not a difficult fix, is that some options are toggling while there's no logic that they are toggling. And let me give you a great example. You can now in video mode turn on spot tracking, right? So I put it on one of my buttons. It should be over here. Oh, sorry, not in here, but this one. See, one button, and I can turn it on and off, right? This whole interaction doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Now, not even talking about that it asks me put it in the center, which I have no problem with. And I can now turn it on like this, but my point is, if I have a button, there's more places where this happens. If I press it once, and I press it twice, why doesn't it automatically toggle it, right? Because then it would be like a double click, like click, click for off, click, click for on. Click, click for off, click, click for on. It doesn't do that, it forces me to do one action, then go to the pad, click on it and activate it. Now this becomes worse if you combine it with the next thing that I think they should change. And I think this double click they can actually or long press, which would also be possible, so that you sort of keep it pressed in, right? I know this is running Android, so these things are totally possible. They should think a little bit about this navigational method if it's not needed. The same trick could be used in many other places. This is the one that bothers me the most. But I can see there will be other areas where it will be very helpful. So for example, one area which I think it might make sense is to switch from auto ISO to the last one that you have set. So to toggle between, I would almost call it a memory. So let's say normally you would have an auto, let me show you a bit here. You would have an auto on an auto range like this, right? But you sometimes also do it manually. Now it would not be bad if you click it twice that it would jump automatically back to the auto mode and basically toggle between the last two modes, right? Not saying that this is the most important place, but there are several areas where I think this whole navigation between two items actually can be done much smarter, especially if you're talking about on and off functions. So let's go to the third one, and I think the last one for this video because it's kind of related. Everybody is complaining about that the touchscreen is not fully activated. I can totally understand that. Implementing a full touchscreen enabled menu is not going to be easy. It's that simple, right? It's going to be quite a lot of work, and yeah, it is not easy. Now, you clearly showed that some of the touchscreen functionality is possible. You can already, for example, use it in the keyboard mode. What I would suggest, and which kind of hits back to the point I was making before about a double tap, is to at least research if we can do the touchscreen over here. I think, by the way, this should be bigger, because the whole idea is, and what we are advising Sony users for a long time, and lots of reviewers are doing that, is that, well, the menu system is not perfect, there's a lot of technical stuff in there, but set up your quick menu and it's kind of like your personal menu, and then you can use it there. Now, this also stays active when you are writing the buffer and other situations. So clearly there's already something special going on with this menu. Why don't you turn this into, make it a little bit bigger, maybe even add a third row, but this is totally valid to create it into a touch area. Now, because the keyboard also does it, so make it a little bit bigger, the buttons a little bit more pressable. Now, the good news then is that you can also, we talked about this double tap before, so normally if I use this function, so I have to go into the function, okay, that's fine. Then I have to do this weird interaction again, right? So click, weird interaction to make it go on and off. To me, this is a perfect example where also the toggle function could work here, right? So click one time or long click to flip it over, right, to the next mode. The same can be done with a silent shutter, and there are at least 3 or 4 places where you could go like, well, this makes actually perfect sense to be able to have a tap on, tap off sort of functionality. Now, there's more that you could do here, right? You could click and then get a menu up and going up and down and do it like that. So, for example, I can imagine if you have 3 functions, so for this one, if I click it, it will show me a menu somewhere over here and then allow me to select the speed. But that's more work, and I totally understand that's not like an afternoon of coding, right? But I think a good compromise between having a full touchscreen functionality and having something that is workable and solves 99% of your problems is to think about these small sort of, where can I use touchscreen and what can I do with a double tap, a slide, and maybe a long press. Right? Another one which is coming from another camera, so we're already going to the 4th one, is actually being able to reprogram buttons if you long press them, right? So there are tricks that you can come up with which are sort of in between full rewrites, new features, and just tuning. And I think the double tap, the warning sort of message is a good one. So let me do the last one. And then I think we should finish this video. So the last one, I think, what makes sense to me, it's been on there for ages, to be fair, and I'm just adding it because it's one that bothers me quite a lot, is the fact that if you go into this mode, so this is the mode also on the viewfinder, on the EFF, sorry, where you have your leveler information. I think it's totally weird, and on the viewfinder it's even less information there. I don't understand why I have to pick between the leveler and the histogram. To me that doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand why I don't have an option where the histogram and the leveler are not both available, especially in the EFF. So everything is off in the display, it's quite relaxed. You have this leveler, which I'm assuming many people want, but you also want to be able to see your histogram. So don't understand why this can't be on at the same time. Maybe it's a performance issue. I kind of doubt it, but if that's the case, then well, that is the case. But I think from a shooting point of view, it makes perfect sense to me to have your histogram always up. Many people do that, but then to lose your leveler is kind of weird, to be fair, because, well, they kind of, I wouldn't say have to be combined, but they solve 2 different problems, and making us choose between solving one problem and ignoring another problem is kind of weird. So this is the last one I want to do for this video. Hopefully people will find this interesting. Please comment on it if you agree with my list, or you have other small things that I can judge, or other developers can judge that are in the, let's say, in the area of reasonable request. I will probably also make a video where I go into more complex requests, but I think these I just showed are totally, I think I've shown 5 or 6. I think 3 of them should be totally doable in the next firmware release, and it should not take a developer months. It should be one in the afternoon and the other maybe 2-day job, or in the other it's the most complex one of course is the touching of the function one that will probably take a few weeks, but it's not totally without sort of logic or reason to say, hey, these are improvements that will make the camera much more usable for normal users, and this will take the edge of some of the quirkiness that is now in the A6500. Thank you, bye bye.